The company started when I decided I wanted to break off, be on my own. I was working with a few business partners out in the city near Boston, and got tired of the commute, got tired of the insanity, wanted to move to a more rural setting, which was my home at the time, Western Mass. So I broke off and got a few big breaks. So the crew is made up of myself and my good friend Archer. Andrew Archer is his name. He hails from South Dakota. He is an ex-rock climbing instructor. He's got this Midwestern seriousness about him. He's solid. You're always wondering what he's thinking, but he never says it.
My name is Archer. I work here at Timber Point Building Company with Dan. I started in 2011 after moving from South Dakota. I had a real strong desire to build things, and timber framing is kind of that ultimate opportunity to get to create unique things with your hands, and I've been excited to do it ever since.
Eric Driver, another guy on the crew. He's a local boy. He's a Scotch Highland cattle rancher and a really solid carpenter. He's helped me on numerous projects, and everybody loves the guy.
My name is Eric Driver. I live and raise Highland cattle here in Massachusetts. I'm also a builder. My favorite projects are natural buildings and using sustainable design. I've been fortunate to build in many beautiful places, and my favorite place to build is here on my land with my family.
Digger Gardner, another friend, neighbor, homesteader.
Name is Digger Gardner here. This is Zavi, and this is Louie, and that's Cleome. And we're at the Gardner Homestead. It's kind of like a small farm here. And the topic is timber framing. Let's see, I started working with Timber Point Building Company, what was it? Something like 5-6 years ago. I met Dan on a job restoring a hundreds of year old home in Peru. It was a good job, and Dan is a mighty fine fellow. He's my favorite person to timber frame with. And I love timber framing with you too. We should do it sometime. I think you'd be great. I love timber framing because it's strong. It's the strongest way of framing, and it's beautiful. And it's by far my favorite form of carpentry. Let's see, what do we do here? We just raised some pigs, and then we are in the process of eating them. I'm a very bad Jew. Let's see, what else? My wife is a phenomenal horsewoman, and you might get to see some horses in the background. And then I should mention we built this barn here in the background, which was a fast and furious job. I've definitely built even better ones with Timber Point, but we got it up, and it's super strong, so that's what counts. Upstairs, there's 17 ton of hay. I just harvested a bunch of garlic. We're tying that up and hanging it to dry. Oh, and we're off the grid. On top of this barn, there's a bunch of solar panels. It's because our driveway was a quarter of a mile long, and basically the same price to bring up electricity was the same price as a nifty solar system. So we went for it, and it's been a learning curve. And I also heard children. Hey, bring that over.
Aaron Rutz, stonemason, kind of a bull, lovable guy. Just never know what is going to come out of his mouth.
My name's Aaron Rutz, and they call me Rutsy. I'm from the Berkshires of Massachusetts. I'm a stonemason, and I construct walls and foundations for timber frames. I love what I do. I love the construction, putting these stones together with their texture and color, and I love the process. And a good home stands upon a good foundation. just won't break.
Okay.
It's good for granite.
So that's the primary crew. There's lots of other guys that jump in and out, depending on availability. We specialize in timber frame buildings, taking them down, repairing them, building new ones. It's all traditional mortise and tenon joinery and heavy timbers. I like barns because they're everywhere around here. This area is rich in farming. It's got a long history of it. So there are a lot of old barns. There are a lot of people wanting to build new barns. There are a lot of people in this area with a sharp aesthetic, and they like to see something that is New England, and so we try and provide that. What do I love about it? I love the barns that we build are traditional timber frame structures. We use mortise and tenon joinery, which is interlocking timbers with pegs and joints. And we get all of our timber logged and sawn locally, and either trucked to the site or trucked to my shop for the cutting process and the pre-fit process. We construct most of these buildings with a crane, although there are some hand raisings, and that's typically how it goes. Any typical frame can take anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, and often just a few days to raise with a crane and a good crew. The barns we repair are varied in that there are a lot of different barn styles here in New England. There were a lot of different people that came with different styles from various parts of Europe. So it's a big range, and they're often in terrible, terrible shape because they're often full of animals throughout hundreds of years that had just kind of destroyed them. So there's a lot of work fixing up old barns or relocating them. It's a dirty job. I stand out from other companies in that we are a small, manageable, accountable organization. When you call, you don't get a switchboard, you get me. So we try and stand out by being readily available. Why timber framing? Because it's weird and outside the norm of conventional construction, and I guess it evokes something of an era that's gone by. When I look at old frames, when I look at old buildings, I'm kind of drawn to them. I always have been, so that's where we're at there. This area is great. New England has been settled since the early 1600s, so there's all kinds of great examples of different homes, buildings, structures to draw on for future projects, and also just to get inside and repair and feel like you're a part of history. So a build that was particularly interesting was actually this frame, this barn we put up in the middle of the winter. And I was warned against it, but we were trying to keep to a timeline. Farmers wanted to get going in the spring, so we made it happen. It was January of 2010, which was a hard month in New England, and that particular month we got some record-breaking snow. And this frame, we cut it in about 8 weeks, and pretty much the whole month of January snowed. Many, many feet of snow. We snuck this frame up in 3 days. I managed to get the whole crew together and pull it off in like 3 sunny days in the month. And then it just snowed the rest of the month, and it was kind of harsh. All of the lumber is locally milled by, most of my projects come from a man named David Lashway. He's a local millman, New Englander through and through, and just a great guy. And everything in this frame, for example, is sawn and logged from about a 30-mile radius from the site. So we try and support small business and local people. The process of crafting a frame and erecting it, it starts with a big, giant truckload of beams that get dumped right in front of us. And then we start sorting all of that through. I typically go and lay out all the timbers. A lot of times I just have a pencil and a razor and my square, and I'm just laying out where all the joints are going to go on the beams, and then myself and the crew would kind of fall upon those beams and cut them up, fit them all together as best we can before the raising, so that when everyone's sitting in their lawn chairs and drinking beer or whatever they're drinking, that everything works. So that's kind of the process. Sometimes we'll cut a frame on site. It depends. Sometimes we'll cut it at my shop. This particular project was cut on site. It's a really busy road. It was great for business. And we had a lot of people just come and watch, so it's cool. Life outside of work is a lot of running around with my kids and my wife and trying not to think about work. And we garden. We're lucky. We have a small home with a little garden space and room to run. And there's a river behind our house where we splash, we have fun, we get into trouble, do things like that. What do I love about country life the most is that it's not city life. I was born in New York, Long Island. I know the city, and I'm glad I'm not there. I'd love to visit various cities around the country. I've seen most of them, and Western Mass is the place to be. It's not backwards. There's the Five College area, and this area brings in a lot of intellectual talent, and there's just a lot of great people here. So it's kind of like a country setting without all the negatives. My name is Dan Pedersen. I'm the owner of Timber Point Building Company. I'm passionate about what I do because I enjoy it. I love it. It takes me to some really strange places that I otherwise would never see. It gets me in contact with some really odd people that I probably otherwise would never meet if I was stuck in an office somewhere. It's just a bizarre existence, and I'm glad I'm living it. I think it'll make for interesting TV because, that's a great question. Probably because what we do is really outside of the norm. And when you're constructing a barn, whether it's getting worked on or whether it's getting raised, people will just pull over on the side of the road and get out of their cars and walk right up to you and ask, what the heck are you doing here? And we stop and we tell them, and they're into it. So I think that'll transcend well into TV because it's just kind of an odd circus show sometimes.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
All right, Dan.
All right.
Good job.
Some of the tools we use in timber framing, this is called a commander. It is a large Paul Bunyan style mallet that we use to persuade timbers together. This is a little carpenter's finish hammer. This is called a chain mortiser. We use this to make mortises. It plunges down, makes a hole, and then we use things like chisels and everything else to clean them up and make them square. These are circular saws. We also use these in timber framing. This is something you might see on a conventional building site, and this is something you'd often see set up at a timber framer's shop. Everything's kind of bigger and bolder and abnormal, and it's cool. We like that. We have fun. We do things different, and that's just a part of the craft.